Hi folks, thanks for hanging out with me today, and I wish you all a happy holiday season. A lot has happened since we last made a reel together, and one of the things is I was working on commissions, which can be stressful because there's deadlines. During the holiday season, I tend to get busy, and with deadlines involved with commissions, I find that I am under the wire to get things done, get it out, and also capture my creative forces. So I'm always going different directions when it comes to commissions. Now, the other thing that happened is I was working on a commission, sealing it up, and the sealant fell and it went all over my studio. It was a big mess and I couldn't work there anymore. So you can see I'm in the garage. I moved my whole operation to the garage. Today, I want to share with you information about working with glazes. Now, first of all, let's talk about what a glaze is. A glaze is when you take acrylic paint and you thin it with water, and you get a thin wash. And the reason I like to use a glaze is typically I'm using straight acrylic paints, but when you add glazes to certain areas, you get that translucency and it makes for a sheen that you wouldn't ordinarily get when you're using the typical acrylic paints. If you want more information on glazes, Golden has a terrific forum. They also will answer questions, and you can just put in Golden, and probably if you put in the word glazes, they'll give you all kinds of information. But when you decide to try an experiment, there's no rules. So what you're doing is adding water to acrylic painting, and it depends on what kind of translucency you want, color intensity, consistency, and what kind of sheen you want. So experiment. Typically for me, what works best is I might come in with a glaze. They're also called washes at the very end, and it just gives some areas a little bit of interest other than what I've done with just the typical acrylic paints. Now, I also recommend experimenting with mediums. And you'll ask me, what is a medium? A medium extends the color of the acrylic paints. I don't have any particular brand that I like over another brand, but if you use a medium, you're going to slow down the drying time. Acrylic paints tend to dry very quickly, and unless you're painting over the area, you don't have time to see if that's what you want to keep and what you want to diminish in terms of the areas on the canvas that you're working on. So I would say experiment with mediums. They are a lot of fun to see how they operate within your typical acrylic paints, and experiment with washes and glazes. You can use layers with that, and the more layers you get, you'll get a different look in areas that you're trying to define and add distinction to. There's this paper that's called Yuko paper, and I've tried it with the Yuko paper. I've also tried it with watercolor paper, and glazes seem to work best just on a straight canvas, but you can try it for yourself and see if there's something that you prefer. Also, when you're buying acrylic paint, I tend to like heavy body paints on my white and black, and then I go with the other consistencies for my colors. Now, white and black will either bring out areas or it will diminish other areas. So I like to have a heavy body because it gives me the opportunity to cover over what I didn't like in the first place with either white or black in mind. And I would not recommend using that as a glaze or a wash. I don't think you're going to get a finish that you're going to be happy with. Since about 2020, I've been experimenting and seeing what works best. I found that if I use a palette knife for my heavy body, I get a different results than if I use brushes. And with a glaze, you can only use a brush. Don't try it with a palette knife because you're not going to get the results that you want. So I'm always free to ask any kind of questions you want. Just email me. I do get back to you eventually. My email address is joydavisartist@gmail.com. And again, I hope you all have a happy holiday, and we will finish this painting hopefully in the next few days.